Today we're going to talk about some of the most interesting yet mind-boggling rules from the world of sport, and we're going to focus on the sport of basketball, more importantly the NBA. Now, I'm one of those who really took to the sport of basketball after watching The Last Dance, the great Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls documentary. After that, I thought, let's read up more upon the sport and try to understand the rules and regulations which govern it. I came across a number of very interesting yet bizarre rules which are followed in this sport, and I thought let's share it with you guys. First of all, the most interesting one was the emergency disaster draft. Now, what is this exactly? In 1960, 10 LA Lakers players almost died in a snowstorm accident. Now, thankfully, they survived it and got out of it safely. But after this incident, the NBA decided that they needed a contingency plan in case something like this does actually happen. So they introduced the emergency disaster draft. Now, this draft states that due to any disastrous circumstances, if a team were to lose 5 or more players, they would be allowed to pick players from the emergency disaster draft. Now, the unaffected teams will be able to save only 5 players out of their entire squad, and the rest will enter the draft and will be available to be picked by the affected team. This was introduced originally because they wanted to ensure that the team who has been affected by this incident does manage to sustain themselves in the sport and keep playing the sport. Now, thankfully, such an incident has never happened in the history of the sport, and hopefully it never will. But just for 1 second, think about the chaos that will ensue if something like this were to happen in the sport of basketball, especially in the NBA. It would be utter chaos. Moving on, the second most bizarre rule that I have found is, did you know that basketball is a five-a-side game? But not really. Especially in the NBA, the rules clearly state that each team is only allowed to field 5 players at a time on the court. But there is a small loophole. Now, first of all, this loophole was cleared in 2008 and is no longer available. But before that, it used to be a part of the game. It stated that any particular team can field 6 players on the court unless and until the referee notices them. Now, if the referee does not notice that a team has fielded 6 players and the team goes on to score a point, the point would count. It won't be a situation where after scoring the point, if the referee notices it, he can take the point away. That is not going to happen, but the referee can give the team a technical foul. Now, this actually did happen in 2008 when the Portland Blazers took on the Boston Celtics. After a particular timeout, the Blazers fielded 6 players on the court and the referee did not notice it initially, but the Blazers went on to score 1 point from that play. After that, the referees noticed the infringement and gave the team a technical foul, and they were asked to withdraw 1 player, but the points were not taken away. Now, after this, the loophole came to life in 2008, the NBA put a close to this loophole, and now you're no longer allowed to do it. But just for a second, imagine how interesting yet bizarre it would be if something like this were to happen in an NBA final with just 10 seconds left on the clock, and it's only a 1-point game, and something like this happens and the team who's trailing goes on to win it. I mean, that would cause such a conflict and such a controversy, but it would be very interesting to watch, honestly. There are many more such rules especially from the sport of basketball and from other sport, which I will be sharing with you soon in another video. But for now, thank you for listening, and cheers. I'll see you tomorrow.